Hello, and welcome to the Drag Race RuCap here on reality TV RHAPups. I'm your host, Liana Boraas, and we are here to talk about episode 10 of RuPaul's Drag Race season 15. I can't believe we are already at episode 10. That is like totally mind-blowing. Double digits for us. And this is also, if I understand correctly, our last 45-minute or hour-long episode. And then afterwards, we're going to be going back to an hour and a half. But just because it had a shorter runtime does not mean that there is not a ton to talk about. So let me welcome in, of course, our two fabulous panelists who are here week after week. First, let me start with Aman Adwin, who is wearing my favorite hoodie I think I've ever seen in my life. Aman, how are you?
Yeah, I meant to like wear it a little bit more during Black History Month. It's got a bunch of for those of you that are just listening to the audio, it's a bunch of black cartoon characters. You got Gerald on here, you got Riley and Huey from the Boondocks, Susie Carmichael. Yeah, it's one of my favorite hoodies. I got it last year.
Love
Thank
that.
you.
I love that.
Yeah, no, I'm great. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about for this episode. But I'm happy to be back as always.
Yes, good. And a woman who has shared far too much about her kidney stones, so I hope that she spares the audience here. It's Beth Dixon. Beth, you're doing better. We know that.
I'm doing better. Yeah. The kidney stone is passed, and so I can move on from that as well. But no, thank you both for holding the fort so well last week. I listened, and I just absolutely loved the dynamic between. Sometimes it's fun just to sit back and listen to the two if you do good work. So, but I'm excited to be back, and I'm even more excited to be a part of the conversation with Aman today, as we know that there's some really great Beyonce things to talk about. Really great, like so good. So I'm really stoked.
Yes, we have the Night of 1,000 Beyoncés, which we will get to when we talk about the runway. But first, let's tackle the main challenge at hand. So we have the one-on-one interviews that the queens were tasked with for TV's sketchiest news magazine, 50/50. They get up and close with three different celebrities. They're put on teams, and we have Charo, Frankie Grande, and Love Connie. Aman, overall, what did you think about this challenge?
I really enjoyed the challenge. I felt like it's one of those things where it's like Drag Race is a game, and do drag queens necessarily have to be interviewing people a lot of the time? No. Is it something that drag queens could be doing now more days? Yeah, I mean, we have like the Exchange Rate, which is Monet Exchange's show. We've got all sorts of podcasts where people have guests that come onto their show. We have shows where drag queens are usually the people that are being interviewed. So I think it's very like timely, and it also harkened back to some of the challenges that they had to do on America's Next Top Model, which we all know that what this show harkens back to. There was plenty of they were like, I remember Tyra always saying like, as a model, you're not just going to be taking pictures. Sometimes you're going to be asked to host events. Sometimes you're going to be asked to interview people. So it felt a lot like that to me. And so it was a lot of fun. And I felt like it was a nice array of the guests that were getting interviewed, because each guest had a different type of challenge to present towards the queens. The only thing that I did not like about it was that I felt like them being able to watch other queens go before them gives them an advantage. And I'm not sure how I appreciate that, because, well, we'll get into it when we get into the nitty-gritty. But that's sort of like my overall consensus, that I really enjoyed it. Just a few things that I could have done without.
I feel like this was kind of a weird episode, and I had the opportunity to watch it at a live showing at a drag bar in New York. And I think the consensus in the bar was like, this was a generally inequitable challenge. And it was really hard depending on the guest that you had, depending on the kind of interviewing you were doing. And I think that that's like kind of par for the course sometimes with Drag Race. Like not all parts are created equal, but there was just like they didn't get a choice in like who they were going to interview, for example. They got a choice of like which part of the interview they were going to do. And I honestly think that like Frankie Grande is far and away the easiest person to interview out of the three of them. And it's not surprising that that that's the case either. So I just kind of felt like if they were going to choose three kind of really out there people, it would have been really fun to choose somebody who has a more like, I don't know, I don't want to say the word manic because that sounds awesome, but like a very like
It should have been
chaotic
T.S. Madison
energy.
instead of Frankie Grande.
Who was it?
'Cause
Sorry.
I think it should have been T.S. Madison instead of Frankie Grande because she is much more like I mean, she's not as wacky as a Charo is, but few people are, but she's definitely one that would understand what the challenge is and be someone that would be like challenging the queens to like, hey, I'm going to kind of be out there. So you got to keep up with me. So I was kind of shocked that they didn't do that.
Yeah.
I actually didn't mind that so much, that there were different people in different situations, because I feel like the adaptability is something that is a skill in and of itself. And so, yeah, you might have gotten lucky with something that fits your skill set, but I think we saw people excel in all of these different avenues, right? Because we saw someone with Charo make it into the top. We saw someone with Frankie make it into the top. We saw someone with Love, Connie, make it into the top. So it seemed, and from all that, we saw one from the sit down, one from the walk and talk, and one from the activity. So there was, I think, an ability to succeed, even though I do hear what you're saying, that it was different, obviously, depending on like who you're interviewing and what the setting is. I think it was just about being able to match the energy of the person that you're with. And that's a skill that is, I think, independent. Yeah, there's people maybe you are more likely to match. But I actually thought Love Connie would have been the easiest person. Because what Mistress had, I thought was so easy. It felt like such a layup to me personally, because I felt like just banter, right? Sasha Colby did such a good job with that, is that she just bantered. She matched Charo's energy. Kind of didn't really matter what Charo's saying, which we know like it can be really tough with a heavy accent. And so I think that that's, why she ultimately was able to succeed. I do think the one thing I would have changed is just you get to pick who you get to do. I think that's the only thing that I probably would have changed, because to me, the groups didn't actually really mean anything. I thought it was, they're assigning the teams to have some drama, right? Like, let's put some queens together, but they didn't really end up interacting necessarily all that much, except for we saw a little bit of that in the preparation time, but it didn't necessarily lead to any drama because everybody got their own individual segment that they did with the person that they were interviewing. So
and I do think the only other thing that I wish is if it had been a team thing, I really wish that the Frankie team would have been kind of, I don't know, told off about, they all asked the same question, which is like, you recently got married. And it's just like, where was the planning in that? Because it just seemed like everybody just went off the same exact note, and it got so repetitive that I felt bad for the third person, who I can't remember off the top of my
Malaysia.
head.
Is that all they knew about him? Because like I can't even remember who said it, but in the preparation, they were like, yeah, we want to make sure we don't ask the same questions. And then we see that group asking the same question. Yeah. So I was like,
I didn't even hear another question. It was just like, tell me about being married. And I'm like, meanwhile, any of us at like RHAP would have been like, tell me about Big Brother. So tell me about the obvious riggery of the time that you won the Battle of the Block by yourself. And
can you tell me about the button, the whole reset week?
I'd have been salacious and be like, ooh, tell me about Zach Rance and how that all went down.
Ooh, see, there we go. You're asking the right questions, Aman.
Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe we would have been the perfect people to interview Frankie Grande. That's why we thought it would be the easiest. We're like, we have literally watched you 24/7 for 3 months.
Well, to be fair, I do think that there's a lot that, depending on what your perspective is, you may know a lot about Charo, but you didn't know anything about Love Courtney, right? You might have known a lot about Love Courtney, but you didn't know anything about Frankie. So I do think that I agree with you, Liana, that I wish that the queens had been able to, just choose who they wanted. But I also like the idea that, and I think that to take a step back, I do think that it is kind of rich, those of us who podcast and are used to interviewing and talking about things and banter and going and riffing off of other people's energy. Like, there is something that maybe we're a little bit more accustomed to. So maybe we have a harsher eye and a challenge like this.
This is literally our skill set, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we think about questions, we talk about things. Maybe if they had provided each of the teams with like a dossier on each person with just a few bullet points about them, just to give them a framework, because yes, having a few things that you can pull from is important, but the more important thing is to match the energy, banter, engage, right? That's sort of the biggest thing. And I think we see we see a couple of people do that quite well. Like I mentioned Sasha from before. I think Lucy also, except I totally agree with Rue. I needed a follow-up question to this whole story. Like, what are you even talking about, Frankie? Like, sorry, what? But anyway, to me, I love challenges like this. This harkens back to even season 1 where they interviewed like Tori Spelling, I think, in season 1. Tori and Dean. Tori Spelling and Dean McDermott.
Yes.
I don't know. I love stuff like this. So I was a fan of the challenge, although, I do hear the ways it could have been improved as well.
Sure. I mean, it really go ahead. It's your personality, and it tests like how well you can relate to other people and how you can keep your conversation skills. Are you a conversationalist? Because drag queens, yes, you're a performer, but you sort of have to be able to go back and forth with people. Your shows, like it's good to have that skill because to keep the audience engaged. And I feel like I appreciate the difference in interview. Yes, I feel like with Charo, that's the challenge. There is trying to interpret what she's saying, right? Like trying to make sure that you're like staying on top of like the accent. And then as far as Love Courtney is, it's like sort of like, trying to match that manic energy, trying to learn how to riff off of whatever she's going to say, because she can just say anything. You have to sort of just like roll with the punches. And then with Frankie Grande, that's more of like a well-rounded one where it's like you ask engaging questions, can make sure that he's able to answer them in a way that doesn't feel like, like, oh, that's a one-word answer, So I think all of them provide a different type of challenge, which from a viewer standpoint is sort of interesting because then not every single thing is like the same. We're watching everything over and over and over and over. But from like a competitor standpoint, it's a little inequitable because, like one challenge I literally can't understand what you're saying is like, that's a far cry from now it's just being matched someone else's energy. So it's like, I can sympathize with the queen. But at the same time, I'm like, well, Drag Race is the game. So I feel like when it came down to the judging about how some of these people did, I was like, I don't know about that. And that seems a little unfair. Like, because I feel like if this were any other season, this person would home even if they weren't understand somebody. But okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Aman. And I think that at the end of the day, it's almost an improv challenge, right? You have to be able to learn how to listen to what's going on and react to it. And it seems like some of the queens were like over prepared and that they felt like they really had to stick to what they prepared rather than like listening to the person and have fun with it. And there were so many times with Love Connie, for example, and I know that this was something that Selena really struggled with, where like Selena was like, well, I have to ask the questions that I prepared. And I was like, you could literally just be like, I don't know, like just like join in on the fun of what Love Connie is saying. Interrupt her if you want, but in a way that's like matching her energy, matching what she's saying, riffing off what she's saying. In the same way with Charo, when like Charo starts talking about like, what was it, like a squirrel noise that she was trying to like, so why don't you try to imitate the squirrel now? Like there's things like that you can just do to like riff off of things. And I think that there was a lot of people online, and I know that Mari, was one of them, who was saying, was this just a poorly designed challenge, or was this a queens just didn't do it well? And I think it was kind of both at the end of the day, to be honest with you. I really think that if the queens had a little bit more agency, I don't think that it would have been as much of the challenge. But I honestly think this was just something that unfortunately showcased that this was just not a strong suit for a lot of the queens.
Maybe it was a misinterpretation of what the goal of the challenge was, because I noticed that with Mistress also, of like this fascination or this fixation on having to ask serious questions. And so I think maybe something got missed somewhere where it was like, you don't necessarily have to do that. If that's the direction the interview takes, fantastic. If the direction of the interview is we're making jokes about prolapse and poop, then okay, sure, that's also the direction that it takes, right? And you can sort of like have fun with that as well. So which is maybe, I don't know, maybe why Lux did the best. She kind of had a little bit of both. She was
Mhm.
able to work in some of the, I don't know, more serious questions, and then also just sort of be
Yeah.
chaotic with driving around at the end. I don't know. But let's talk about each of the individual teams. We're gonna
Sure.
start with just the order that they aired, which also, like, I don't know. There was something weird about the way that it aired that like got me confused, because it was like, okay, the other queens are watching in the background. So I was like, is this live? Is this edited? Like, am I supposed to be seeing no, this is like, what is this what the other queens saw? I don't know. Like, that part was just a little bit confusing to me in terms of the way that it actually happened on the show versus
Yeah, it was strange. I wasn't sure who was watching
oh,
and what, and yeah, it was kind of weird.
Yep.
yeah. Okay, well, we'll just go ahead and start with Team Connie. So this was Selena who was assigned the sit-down interview, or chose a sit-down interview, unclear, because for the teams of 3, they each did a different activity, sort of. So a walk and talk, an activity, which seemed to be a cooking type of show, and then a sit-down interview. And then for the team of 2, which was Team Charo, they didn't do the walk and
Out
talk,
and
I
about.
believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, Selena does the sit down interview, Lux does the walk and talk, and Mistress does the activity.
I also definitely think that the sit down interview itself, just on paper, seems like it'd be easy, but in actuality, I do think it's always going to be the hardest thing,
For sure.
because you don't have an activity to rely off of. So while I want to give Selena props for being like, yay, choosing something that's really hard, I do think that Selena was trying to choose something that she felt a little bit more comfortable with, because she said that she used to host a podcast and do different things like that. But I honestly, at the end of the day, like, I do think that Selena deserved to be in the bottom. I don't think that she was by far the worst or anything like that. But I do think that what we saw really was a deer in the headlights situation of, how
Yeah.
do I reel in a guest who won't shut up?
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I honestly, that's where you have to be able to think on your feet and listen and react. And I just don't think that she had that skill set, or wasn't tapping into that skill set, if she does have it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish this had been the episode where the hour 30 was implemented, because you could tell that some of the girls, their interviews were sort of chopped a little bit. And I want to see, obviously we could tell that Lena was taking over, but we only got really like one inch of that in the edit. It was like, how bad actually was it? Because it wasn't as bad as it made it appear in the judging. I agree. I feel like, yeah, if she's gonna go off the rails, then go off the rails with her. And I was kind of interested by the fact that she went ahead and did the sit down one, because when I think Lena, I don't go sit down.
No.
I think of like, get her out there in the
Energy.
field.
Right.
Yeah, like energy. She should have been the one that's out there, because that would have been I think it would have like freed her up a bit more to be who she is. So I was kind of interested with that.
And I do wonder if part of that is her wanting so desperately to show a different side, right? She's been known as somebody who's high energy. She's now had to lip sync a few different times. And so I'm wondering if this was her trying to say, like, no, I want to show off that I have the ability to sit down and have a conversation and have it be meaningful in an environment and in a way that doesn't invite me to be loud and spontaneous. But I think, unfortunately for her, you have Love Connie in front of you. You should be loud and spontaneous with her.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Mike and I have been doing the B&B for however many years now, and we have so many different versions of the B&B. On base, it's the same show, but we go with the guest's energy. When we have like a chaotic, all over the place guest, then the show ends up being chaotic and all over the place. And I do think that Selena, one of the things that held her back was trying to stick with this, like, I have to ask the questions, as you guys have talked about. I have to ask questions that are on the sheet and sort of stick with that, instead of just embracing the chaos that was sort of going on. She looked terrified. Like, there were moments where she just looked scared. I was like, oh my
gosh.
She's
like, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I know. I was like, you can do this. You can do this. Come on, Selena. Like, you are that person, though. So that I don't know. She was probably in her own head. I think being in the bottom, of course, is going to shake you in a competition like this. So I think that those are probably some things that just mentally got in her way and
Yeah.
put up a block and a bit of a wall when it came to handling this challenge, I think, in the way that she really could have.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah. So Lux is the next queen. She does the walk and talk, which is in the little like golf cart
on
sort of
a
thing.
studio set. Yeah.
Yes. And she ends up in the top for this performance interview. I don't know. I don't know what to call it. And I think what worked for me is being able to sort of like, we actually learned something about Love Connie. I had no idea that Love Connie was the hairdresser in Legally Blonde. The bended snap works every time. I didn't know that. That was so fun to learn.
The collective gasp in the gay bar the other night was like everyone went at the same time, and that was pretty fierce. So yeah, no, I loved that. That was pretty great.
And then also just, the chaotic driving and just sort of being like, yes, let's go for it. Woo. I don't know. Maybe like they were physically constrained, which sort of helped like contain the energy because you're physically contained to a cart. I don't know. But I thought, I thought Lux did well.
I think Lux won this challenge.
I think
Lux won this challenge. Like what you said before and how she was able to get like some serious stuff in there. She was able to get some banter stuff in there. You could tell that she wanted to stay with some of the questions that she had planned. She wanted to get them out. But when she could sense that it wasn't going at that direction, she was just like, all right, we'll just do whatever it is that you want to do and I'll play with you. Sasha did the same thing, but I don't think that Sasha matched Charo's energy.
Not at all. I agree.
Lux matched Connie's energy, and it made for just a really, really fun time. And maybe I don't remember everything that was said during the interview, but I just remember how it made me feel, and I was engaged all the way up until the end when they crashed the golf cart. I thought it was just fun, and I feel like we don't really see Lux like that a lot of the time. I feel like Lux has some humor to her, but it's often like deadpan. It's often like, I'm a diva type humor. You know what I mean? And I feel like this was the time where we were actually kind of got a little bit more out of her. Like when the judges are always like, I want to see more from you. I was like, I think she showed us a little bit more in this challenge. And when Sasha won this, I was like, okay, girl. So
yeah,
I think that Lux did a really good job. And yes, there is a little bit of Connie sort of like was the spark and the impetus for the energy of the interview, but so was Charo.
But also, if you're interviewing somebody, they should be the star. Yeah. Like you shouldn't be the one who's standing out. I'm sorry. And I think that's what makes this challenge even harder is like if you as a competitor are trying to stand out, the way that you stand out is by not being the star of the interview, but are making it facilitated in a way that's still an entertaining interview and that you're playing your part. And I 1,000% agree with you, Aman, that I think that Lux should have won this challenge. I really do. I think that she had fun with it. She was like you said, Liana, we were able to learn things about Love Courtney. She allowed Love Courtney to be like chaotic and crazy, but also didn't let her just go completely off the rails and was able to kind of reel her in a little bit too. And on top of that, for somebody who has this, I'm sorry if this is if this is slightly insulting, but is arrogant in this competition, it was refreshing to see the side of her where she's not the star and is facilitating the star power of somebody else. I loved Lux in this challenge, and I really do think that whereas like Sasha was throwing away the cards, and I know we're going to get to her, but like she was throwing away the cards almost because she was just like, I don't know what else to do. Lux was like in control the entire time.
Yes. The one thing I didn't like about it, and I could just be reading into it a little bit more, but one thing I didn't like about this interview was that I just didn't love that Connie was like cradling Lux like this the entire time while they were driving. I think that she was just doing it just to like hold on to her and just like make sure that no one fell out of the cart. But sometimes it felt like Lux was just like, please stop touching me. Stop touching me. And it made me feel just a little awkward. I could be reading into it, but that's just kind of like the vibe that I got. But other than that, I really enjoyed the interview.
See, yeah, Beth, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's a moment there where if Lux is uncomfortable with that, like you lean in and then like now you put your arm over her arm and like like
Yeah.
you like match that energy or like put your arm on her knee. Do something that's just so ridiculous at the same time. Go and grab the hand that's opposite on the steering wheel and just hold that hand. Like do something ridiculous with the body language as well. Yeah.
No, I actually, Aman, I noticed the same thing because it felt like Lux was like cheating out, but I couldn't tell what it was for. I think it was because the camera and trying to like interview, but also turn to the camera. I think that's what it was. But it did look like she was like leaning away and like just trying to be like
Getting out of the
kind of
car.
like let me out of this car. So
I didn't know. Maybe it was maybe the driving was actually as chaotic as it appeared. Maybe she was like,
yeah.
Can someone please intervene?
There's no seatbelt in this.
Yeah. Okay. So that was Lux. The last person in the group is Mistress. She had the activity, which for this was frosting cupcakes in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie. I had so a friend of mine is visiting this weekend. We hung out all day and then went to watch Drag Race that on, Saturday night because I didn't watch it the day of. And we were both talking all day about Drag Race, like who we thought was going to win. And we were both talking about how we love Mistress and really think that Mistress could win the season. Mm-hmm. And then we watched this challenge. We were both like, oh, wait a second.
Eating those words.
I mean, I still think, of course, Mistress is such a strong force in the competition, but I expected her to do better in this. I felt like she was someone who has a lot of those improv skills, or at least she banters really well with queens in the back, even if it is, maybe Lucy would say a little bit bitchy, but I think she still has enough energy to go back and forth with someone. And it felt like she was just panicked, like panicking this whole time. And I was like, oh my God, girl, what are you doing?
She
froze.
Really
she choked.
Yeah, it was weird because I just didn't expect it from her.
I felt like out of the 3 different interviews that Love Connie had, Love Connie gave her so many layups and she just didn't do anything with them.
Yeah.
And
she's usually pretty quick too. Like,
right?
Because I know that you have DRs and DRs allow you time to think and say what you're going to say. But like when we see her work, like interacting in the workroom, she's usually pretty quick. So I was sort of shocked, I guess. Oh my God, this chapstick got in my mouth. Not again. I feel like maybe it was just what we've been saying before, and just like this persistence on wanting to get the questions that you had. Like the outline was there, and then when the outline just like sort of got thrown to the wind, it was just like, I don't know what to do now. And that's sort of like what I was getting at earlier when I was like, I don't like that they got to see that, because Sasha was able to see like, oh yeah, like she doesn't know what to do. Like she should just go with it. And then Sasha was able to do that right after. So it was like, we all have those moments, right, where we are not ourselves, and or maybe you can be a quick-witted person, but that doesn't mean that interviewing is up your alley. It doesn't mean that you're always going to be able to hold the reins for something like that. So in a way, it was nice to sort of see this weakness from Mistress, because we don't really see a lot of it yet, which is very much like unflappable. But this was the time where we were like, oh, okay, so there's a little chink in the armor. So I think, from a narrative perspective, it did humanize her a bit more for me, and it just made me want to see her succeed next week even more. So
I also think it's important to have a chink in your armor on RuPaul's Drag Race, because RuPaul cares about the vulnerability. And I've said this about pretty much any season where it seems like there's an unflappable winner. Like when you have Alaska and All Stars 2, if she didn't have a meltdown, I really don't think she would have won that season. If Jinx wasn't bad at sewing and all that kind of stuff, I really think that there could have been a case to be made that like Monet wins and All-Star 7. And I really think that RuPaul loves the idea that you are this fierce talent and such a great entertainer and you're your own person, but that you are also showing that you are a human who has flaws and things to overcome. Because at the end of the day, it is a reality show. They care more about the reality show portion than they do the actual talent competition. If it were a talent competition, it wouldn't be televised. It would just be like another pageant. And what they care more about is a story with which that people can like connect with. And the average person cannot connect with somebody who just kills everything. So I actually think, if anything, this was incredible for Mistress's winning chances at the end of the season.
Mhm.
Yeah, she needs to have that, like, I overcame this or blah, blah, blah,
The
whatever. And she's
redemption.
Totally.
talking to baby mistress in
Yeah.
the photos at the end.
What would you say to little mistress? Actually, that sounds awful. I hope.
To the little mistress.
Uh,
Okay. Let's talk about Team Charo. So we spoke a lot already about Sasha here, and I don't think I sort of realized how well Lux did until we're sort of talking about it now. I only had the opportunity to watch the episode once. So I definitely hear what you guys are saying about Lux being able to still extract information, because Charo just sort of did her thing, and Sasha was also there, sort of participating at times, making, the joke about tossing salad and just not being afraid to at least sort of. I think she matched energy probably more. I mean, you can't match Charo's energy. I think that's actually physically
Yeah.
impossible for any other normal human being to do. But I think she matched it as well as one could, at least especially with what we saw with Marsha a little bit later. Although the sit down energy actually ended up being, I think, okay.
Yeah.
I do think Sasha deserved to be in the top here. And I don't know. Now I'm out on who I think should have won. But I do think she did a good job.
Yeah, no, Sasha did a great job. And I think that if you can't understand somebody, that is a huge obstacle. Charo also obviously has a very thick accent, and is
Mhm.
part of the charm of Charo is that you don't always understand what she's saying. It's the same thing with like Yara Sofia, right? There were people like
Mhm.
Alexis Mateo would even say like, I speak Spanish and I don't understand half the stuff that that Yara is saying. But that is part of the charm of like the energy that Charo brings. And I really love, I also love the moment where she like throws the cue cards and she's like, this is what I'm doing. And RuPaul basically even says like, okay, that's where you like really won the interview.
Yeah. It did feel like, I mean, like, look, it was great. It was, I mean, I think she did a good job. Obviously, she deserved to be at the top. Win? No, I feel like it was. I didn't get the same like amount of like enjoyment or engagement that I got from Lux. I feel like it was a bit. Ugh, I hate to be this person to like be contrarian about Tasha Cole, because I think that she's awesome. I think that she's obviously mother for a reason. Like, she's been in the game for so long and she knows what she's doing. But with that being said, sometimes like when you know what you're doing, it comes off rehearsed. It comes off like, I'm gonna chuck the cards now because I know Rue's gonna love that. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like, okay, like we're checking things off. And I feel like it probably wouldn't have felt like that had she not won for me. Maybe if she had not won, maybe I would have been able to enjoy it a little bit more. But in hindsight, when she won, I was like, okay, well, was it that good? Was it better than Lux? Like, does she have to win twice in a row? Like, I don't know about that one. So
listen, for my draft team, yeah, she did have to win twice in a row because that was very helpful for me. Just saying. Do y'all know that this theory about Sasha in Drag Race right now? That there's this theory that that they're trying to set her up to be the potential next RuPaul, to like, if RuPaul ever retires, it's Sasha Colby's Drag Race kind of thing. That's the general theory. So it gets even more deep this time because RuPaul says, have you ever hosted a show before? And she goes, no, but it's been a dream of mine. He's like, well, you've got it, kiddo. You've got all of it. And everyone's like now freaking out. And this has been a theory that that some people have had for weeks, but it got really popular on TikTok. And I looked over, I was watching the episode with Brian Scally, and I looked over at Scally and I went, oh my God, that's like so this whole theory thing. And as I said that, one of my really good friends texted me and went, that TikTok I sent you, did you just watch the episode? I was like, I know. So like everyone now is freaking out that like they really think this was like such a heavy-handed way to be like, Sasha Colby is going to be the next RuPaul.
If that happens, I will be legitimately shocked. I feel like there is no way that this freaking show leaves RuPaul unless you pry it from her cold, dead, bedazzled hands. Okay, like she is gonna hold on to this for dear life.
She's got more albums to sell and more side steps to do, and almost like the Spice move where she goes like this with her hands. I mean, that's been, I don't know if y'all watched What You Packin' last week with Michelle and Spice, but Michelle was even saying like, we know you're gonna do like the circle thing with your hands, and I wanted to be like, that's what RuPaul does. Like, how are you calling out Spice for that? It's so funny to me.
It's high camp, okay? Leave her alone.
Also, high key, wish I could have seen Spice do this challenge.
Oh
I
my
Spice would have
god.
killed it.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think this is what she would have won for sure.
Oh my gosh. Okay, where are we? Sasha. Okay, yes, Sasha taking over. I just think that's like the same conversation as like who's going to take over for Jeff Probst, right? That's like his Boston
Monet
Rob going to show up, Monet Exchange. Oh my gosh! After that crossover, yes. If you missed it, there was a Instagram store, some post somewhere on Instagram that was like Jeff Probst had like recorded a video, and then Monet was like reacting to the video, but they made it seem like it was a conversation the way it was edited. It was really funny. It was very entertaining. Monet has some good Survivor takes, by the way.
And we also we're starting the campaign to please get Monet Exchange to talk with Stephen Fishback and Rob Sesternino. I would love a No One Else episode.
Same.
Oh my god, me too.
Same. They won't know what hit them. It'd be amazing.
It'd be amazing.
I'm obsessed. We got to talk about Marsha, who also was on Team Charo, did the sit-down interview and ends up safe here. What we saw in the actual edit of the show was her struggling a lot. But I guess what Marsha had tweeted afterwards, and she talks a little bit about in Untucked, is that she was actually able to have a really good conversation with Charo, but we didn't really see that. So what we were set up here is like felt like Marsha could have been in the bottom, but ultimately ends up safe. And I do wonder if part of that is because of what we didn't see, which then also goes back to like how this it was edited versus like in reality of how much got cut. So, or they just played the like zoning out music and zoomed in on Marsha's face, so we couldn't even hear what Chara was saying anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know that she had tweeted that. So up until now, I've just been like, why wasn't she in the bottom? I don't understand. Like, she needed to be in the bottom. But if that's the case, and there's more, I mean, we know that there's a lot on the cutting room floor for these first 10 episodes. So that could make a lot of sense to me if she was actually able to get, a few good things in there. What we did see, however, even aside from her not being able to understand her a lot of the time, it didn't really seem like she was like that
engaged
or charismatic. It sort of felt like she was very muted. So definitely towards the bottom for me, for sure.
I felt like she just completely dissociated throughout. Like that's the vibe I got, which was like, oh, I can't understand anything. So it was just her going, yeah. Yeah. And then in the back of her head, she's probably just going like, all right, what is the lip sync song this week? Do I know?
Yeah.
I'm thinking that maybe if I were to do a split in this moment in the song, that will probably help me stay. Like that's the vibe I got when I watched her. And I know we're gonna get to the runway and everything, but I will just say everything combined, I was like, Marsha should have been there should have been 4 bottoms this week, and Marsha should have been there.
So this is what Marsha said on Twitter. And again, this is, after the fact, so take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But Marsha had said that I actually had a really lovely conversation with Charo. She gave me a lot of insight into her career and left me with tips on how to live a long and happy life. It's a shame they didn't include any of it. She goes on to say she talked a lot about how as a child she felt so free and connected to nature. She feels bad for the kids today, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so she kind of goes on about a few other things that her and Charo had discussed and had talked about. So now that could have been what aired and then we just didn't hear it. But
well, I mean, this isn't the first time we've heard somebody this season say that a lot had been cut that indicated that they were either safe or should have been in the top. And, the other person being Lucy, who was like, in the acting challenge was like, all of my lines got cut essentially for the final product. And I also, like, when I was thinking about like the Daytona Wind Challenge, I was like, I wonder if what they saw is what we saw for the challenge, or was it longer and they got to see much more included, or did they see all the cuts happen in that exact moment and then knew that they would have to kind of defend themselves a little bit? I don't really know. But I do think that I don't even think that this is necessarily the fact that it went down to 60 minutes. I just think, generally speaking, we have to kind of remind ourselves that, once again, it's a reality TV program. They're going to have their favorites. They're going to do certain things in order to get certain storylines happening. And
Marsha's not going to win. I think we know that now.
If like, honestly, I feel like Selena and Marsha have to be the next two that go. Like, it just seems like that's
gone.
Yeah, like
So
I would maybe in that order, Selena and then Marsha. But I don't know. Like, Marsha has no storyline except for put on more makeup, and like that hasn't been addressed in a couple weeks. So like, what's her story?
Yeah, she figured out the makeup thing, and they were like, "We don't know what else to do with her." So
and they're like, "Okay, let's have fun."
We can't keep ragging on her about doing her makeup.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like what we might not have seen is concerned, like I kind of feel like Michelle Visage whenever people like are explaining their runways to her, and she's like, "That's great, but no." Like, so it's like, yeah, that might have all happened. That might have all been like that. She might have given you wonderful advice. You could have been like, she might have like embraced you on her bosom, but like, were you engaging? Was it fun to watch? I don't know. Remains to be seen. We'll never know. But based off of what I saw, so
it's true.
One last team to talk about today, Team Frankie, where they interview, of course, the fantastic Frankie Grande, we all know and love. So Lucy's first with the sit-down interview. Lucy does end up in the top, and there was some discussion about how, look, this challenge was made for her. This is definitely her drag persona as sort of this Barbara Walters interviewer type, and you can tell her body language. She just felt at home. She was sitting forward in the chair. She wasn't leaning back. She was engaging both like with her language, her eye contact, and the body language. And so this is definitely something that I think she felt super confident about and looked the part, I think.
Yeah, it was great. It like everything that you wanted from like a sit down interview. It was great. You could tell that she was sort of like performing a little bit too, like the gasps and the raised eyes and the like, oh my God, tell me more. And then some of the canned jokes that she obviously had like in the back. So yeah, it was good. Like a little bit of the same critique for Sasha Colby as well, just a little too sterile, just a little bit. But she definitely was in the top, but I know we'll put her ass in the bottom. And we'll leave it at that.
What was that, Aman? No.
Okay. Beth, anything you want to say about Lucy?
No, I honestly, I would say that the only thing that for me was missing was the charisma of it. It was, it just felt like you all are saying, like, kind of sterile, just kind of like rehearsed. Didn't seem like it was much of a reaction of based off what was happening, but more like, great, this is what I knew the answer would be, so therefore I can react the way that I plan to react to this and then move on. But when you compare to the vast majority of the queens in this challenge, killed it. So I'm not upset by it.
Right. All right. Anitra is up next. She does the walk and talk interview. Oh, yes. And this was the Frankie team that kept asking about being married, because that's what Anitra was like, so you've been married for a month. Like, yeah, okay. We just talked about that, but all right, like, keep going. You know, she was laughing and interacting. They did some stretches. I didn't really get much out of it.
I don't remember this at all. Like, I'm having trouble remembering this interview.
They were outside and they were walking. Does that help?
They were outside and walking, and Frankie kept making Anitra do like weird like lunges and that kind of thing when they were walking around, and which I think is hysterical, given that Anitra, which we know Anitra can do this because she's like hella flexible and strong and that kind of thing, but it was funny to see her be like, I'm in these huge heel boots now, having to do the same thing as Frankie, who is in sneakers walking around. It felt like Frankie was kind of pushing her to do stuff, which I like, out of all the queens, like finally Frankie's doing something that's more in line with the energy of Charo and Love Courtney. But yeah, I think she did fine. Like, she kept up with him, but she didn't. I don't think she necessarily steered the conversation in a way that was interesting. It again was about being married and cool, but she didn't flop. I think that she had like a perfectly, like, if anybody in this whole challenge was safe, like, Anitra is the poster child for safe in this competition, or not competition, but in this challenge.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, based off of not even being remembered much about it, I think
Like, safe it is.
I don't remember it being horrible. I don't remember
Yeah.
it being good. So I guess you're safe.
Exactly. Okay, last and maybe my favorite, but for all the wrong reasons, of all the interview segments, it was Malaysia's with the Frankie Grande Italian accent challenge, which was just, this whole thing was weird. I love the Big Brother reference when Frankie's like, if this was a Big Brother challenge, maybe I would have won.
They were like, no, honey, it wouldn't.
Oh my gosh. Malaysia not asking a single question. Just being like a little bit of a mess throughout this whole thing. She matched the Italian accent at one point, which is probably, again, one of my favorite parts. This was a mess.
Yeah. It was actually so much of a mess that I felt like she should have been in the bottom, but not lip synced.
It was hilarious. Oh,
That's a joke. That's a joke.
Oh, I was entertained. I was like, this is terrible, but like fun.
I mean, honestly, if you're talking about entertainment value, there was entertainment value in that for all the wrong reasons. Obviously, they can't like not put her in the bottom two for it, but it was one of those things where I was like, honestly, I was bored by other people put them in the bottom two.
Yeah. Maybe Frankie carried. I don't know, but yeah.
I think Frankie carried just a little bit. I mean, I think one of the other queens that was watching said that he was interviewing her more than she was doing him. So that's probably like the nail in the coffin. It's like, because it's one thing to like let them like be the star, but it's another thing to like make them do your job for you. So I guess, I don't know if that actually happened, but you know, maybe we just didn't see it in the edit. But yeah,
honestly,
it was just,
he should have won for that then. Frankie loves nothing more than to talk about himself. If he got someone to talk about somebody else, that's a win in my book.
Hey. Yeah, honestly, I mean, it was just like, it was just a touch awkward. Obviously, she was like not really. I mean, I feel like there were moments where she was good, like where she was like, "Oh, so you were married? Does he like your meatballs?" Like, so that like, you know, at least there was like a spin on the marriage question, you know. So like, but yeah, she clearly was like not like in her element here.
It's so funny. It was funny that like two of the activity, the cooking challenges, are the two people that ended up in the lip sync. When I agree, I think that the activity is the easiest place to do an interview. Totally. It's almost like a first date, right? Like, you have three options for a first date. You're gonna sit down and you're just gonna talk to each other. Yikes. You're gonna go on a walk together. Okay, fine. At least you don't have to like constantly be making eye contact. Or you can do an activity where you have something to like engage with and talk about. And like, I just feel like that would have been the easiest one to do. But this was just chaos. And I thought it was hilarious.
I will also say there were a lot of people who felt like this would have been the most opportune time to have Malaysia versus Mistress as the lip sync. And the two people who did the cooking should have been the lip syncers. And I definitely think that the runway is the reason why Mistress is not in the bottom two here, and Selena is, but it is just wow. Yeah. Missed opportunities here for entertainment.
Well, let's talk about the runway. Night of 1,000 Beyoncés. Aman, you wanna?
I'm just gonna mute myself here and
wanna start? You wanna give us your thoughts here on this, please?
Okay. Well, let me start by saying that I came into this already sort of with a perception of who I thought was going to do well. I was like, I think I have a pretty good idea of the 4 queens that are going to give it, and the 4 queens that I'm like, I don't really know what's going on with them. And those 4 queens for me were Sasha Colby, Luxx, Mistress, and Lucy. I was like, I think that those people are going to have a good time with this runway. The other 4, I was like, I don't know about them. It could be hit or miss. So I walked into this feeling, okay, let me just see what they're going to do. Furthermore, if you're doing Night of 1,000, whoever the fuck, why are you doing it when there's only 8 queens left? It should be when you have damn near the whole cast. Can we go back to season 9 when they did that for Lady Gaga and we got the full cast? And it was a plethora of looks. Speaking of the plethora of looks, now there were some good ones and then there were some bitch what you doing. There are so many iconic looks of Beyonce, and I was so perturbed that they went with a lot of award shows and a couple of concert looks. And then
here's the problem, though. They are not allowed to do music video looks for this.
I did not know that. You just saved them from an entire wrath of bullshit.
I found this out a couple days before, and it was the same thing with J-Lo. They are not allowed to do that because of licensing issues for the looks that were made in music videos. Lady Gaga, because she was actually there as the judge, is the difference maker. I just wanted to put that out there because I thought the same exact thing until I heard that 2 days before, and then I went into the runway knowing it was going to be a disappointment. So I just want to interrupt there because I'm sorry to interrupt your rant.
With that being said,
of course,
the looks that they chose from the award shows, why are we doing red carpets and not more of the actual performances?
Yes.
You could have done the Billboard Awards. You could have done a dragged out version of both of her Super Bowl outfits. You could have done something with the award shows at the Grammys or any of the iconic looks from any of the VMAs. Now Sasha Colby killed it. For those of you that have not seen Lady Gaga perform Deja Vu at the 2006 BET Awards in that iconic outfit, watch that fucking performance and then come back to me and please give me 5 bullet points as to why she is not one of the best performances, greatest living entertainer of all time. She did not lip sync. I'm going to tell you one more time. When you watch that, because I know some of you guys are going to go and find it. It's on YouTube. She did not lip sync that performance. Watch that fucking performance and then come back to me. That's all I got to say. With that being said, Sasha Colby definitely did a good job. She had the body for it. It was great. It was awesome. Lovely. Mistress, gagging. Loved it. Loved the dress. Loved the little triplets on top. That was hilarious. I loved it. I loved it. Marsha. Marshalls. The
Broadway premiere.
It was giving, oh, I'm not a Beyonce fan, which is fine. That's fine. You don't have, not everybody has to be a Beyonce fan, it's fine. But it was giving very much like, I'm going to just try to find something that is the most like what I do and not really take any risks. And let me tell you something, baby, you should have took a risk. Because that dress, no. And then the doily that you had over top of it, no. I'm just like, what is going on? Malaysia, it was great. It was current. I loved it. And I love that she tailored it for her size. It was, I loved that look. Fine. It was great. Anitra, if you're going to do concert looks, there are so many iconic outfits from the self-titled era. And then when she went on tour, so many of the looks that she gave us on that tour for the self-titled era in the Mrs. Carter World Tour, there are so many. And then for the Formation World Tour, there are so many. And they chose the tamest of the tame. And I just don't understand. And even Lux. Now look, she obviously did her homework. I know damn well that she knew that RuPaul also wore that damn dress. The encyclopedia that is Lux, she knew what the fuck she was doing. And for that matter alone, she should have won the damn challenge. She knocked it out of the park, and then she knocked it out of the park with the runway. I don't understand how RuPaul says all this stuff to her, and then she still lost. That being said, I love the fact that Sasha wore that Deja Vu outfit. I really do. I really do. But this was Lux's to lose. It really was. And I'm still baffled by it. Am I missing anybody? Did I miss anybody?
Lucy.
Oh, Lucy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me get to Selena first. Selena. I liked it. I would much. I mean, I liked the fact that she was like sort of like nodding to RuPaul with the little chia pets. I thought that was like a nice little gag-worthy moment.
Mhm.
The purist in me, that is the Beyonce, the Amonce in me, would have just loved it if she just did some sort of like fake Grammy just to keep the look as, as concise as possible. But what it is, it's one of my favorite gowns and looks. It's so prideful. It's like one of the nights that she won the most Grammys. I think she was the first female artist to win 5 Grammys in one night that night. So it was great. Lucy.
So good.
Lucy. I mean, it's in the name. That shit was loose as fuck. Why is the jacket so... If you're going to have a big-ass jacket, if you're going to give us maternity jacket, where is the baby? Where is the baby? Where is the baby? We all knew it was supposed to be coming. We knew it was supposed to be a big reveal. We knew it. But where is the baby? Has she tweeted anything? Did she Instagram a statement? Is there an iOS press release somewhere? I haven't found it yet. I need to know. First of all, once again, a tame ass look. I was not expecting that from Lucy. I thought she was going to give us something a little bit more avant-garde. Give me the single ladies performance of like the 2010 Grammys or something. Give me the Billboard performance. Give me something else. You have it. Maybe she doesn't. But she has some of the best looks on the runway, and I was just so disappointed when she came around in that fucking basic ass outfit, and it wasn't even a baby mom.
Oh man, in the words of Brian Scally, it's giving very magician.
Oh my god, it is.
And I'm done. There's just so much. This is the cheapest looking. I was so offended purely on Aman's behalf the moment that she turned around the corner. And then when she didn't have the baby bump, and also the fact that she does, like, the pants are nowhere near as high as they should be. Like, there's just so much that is completely wrong with that. Marsha was also just, that was, I would say the only person, I would say Selena and Lux for me were the only two people that if you had not told me what the runway was and I looked at them, I would have said Beyonce. They're the only two I would have gotten. Everybody else, if they had said it was Night of 1,000 Beyoncés, I would have gone, oh, okay. I get it now. Except for her.
I think so. I think Aman covered everything in quite a lot of detail. So I would agree. I think that the point of the Night of 1,000 blanks is that you can look at it and be like, oh, blank, right? Like you immediately know who that person is. And that just was missed, I think, so much. Because if you look at Lucy and you're like, oh, I get it, magician, right? Like, then I understand. Okay. But that's not what we're talking about here. And I didn't even think of it in the moment, but when you mentioned them, on the fact that they did it with only 8 people left.
Oh, it's so true.
Well, why do that? Don't do that. And there was no reason why it had to be with this challenge in particular. So
no,
I don't know. Unless celebrity. I don't know.
They could have at least, if they were gonna do this, they could have at least did it during All-Star 6 when they had Beyonce's damn mother and stylist for the beginning portion of her career as a guest judge,
and also Trinity K. Bonet.
And Trinity K.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
And don't get me wrong, I'm a T.S. Madison. I love that she was there for it. Obviously, I mean, T.S. Madison is featured on Renaissance, and T.S. Madison probably knew because this shit was filmed during last summer, so she fucking knew that album was on the way. And you could just see it in her eyes whenever RuPaul was like, "Night of 1,000 Beyoncés," she was like, "Oh, okay. Something's gonna be coming for y'all next year," but I'm not gonna say anything. So I do love the fact that T.S. Madison was there, but some of them gave. So I don't want to say it was like the worst thing ever, but I just wanted to feel it a little bit more. And the only really zhuzh that I really got was like Mistress's gag, and then like Sasha giving some of like the movements that Beyonce does, like her iconic pose at the end of the runway. Like,
Yeah.
that was where I felt it. But other than that, I was like, okay, girl. But
Mm.
Sasha's wig, the hairline though.
Oh, yeah. When I saw that in
What was
Untucked, I was
that?
like, oh, whoa.
It looked like it was trying to like skip off her forehead and like run away.
It said bye. I'm not gonna lie. I felt like this was such a missed opportunity for Sasha to. I thought as soon as I knew it was going to be Night of 1,000 Beyoncés, and then I learned that it wasn't going to be anything that they could do from a music video.
Mhm.
Instantly in my head, I said, "You know, Sasha's about to turn the Met Gala 2015 look for Beyonce."
Any of the Met Gala looks, I didn't even remember those. Any of them.
And the fact that, like, I just felt like that look, the only other person who could ever pull the 2015
Yeah.
Met Gala look off, Sasha Colby. And she didn't do it. And I was so mad.
So many missed opportunities. Yeah.
Aman is truly dead.
Yeah.
My
It's
apologies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll move on, finish the podcast without him.
I'm so sorry,
Before
my queen. I am so sorry that these ugly ass bitches would do this to you like this.
we have one more Beyonce thing to talk about. So Aman,
God.
okay, maybe
Get
not.
the
Fine, Beth.
defibrillator out. Get the
I know,
defibrillator out.
seriously. He's on life support. All right. Well, because we have to talk about the bottom two with Selena and Malaysia with the lip sync to Single Ladies. Malaysia looked so done.
How do you not know the words to Single Ladies?
Maybe she
You don't need to be a Beyonce fan to know the words to Single Ladies. I literally screamed. You know what? If you are two of the gay men who were standing next to me in the bar and I turned around and yelled in your face, how do you not know the words to Single Ladies? I apologize for yelling in your face, but I appreciate the support that when you said, yes, bitch, you're right. So I appreciated the camaraderie there. That to me was an unforgivable sin. Honestly, RuPaul should have just stopped the lip sync and said, "Get out."
just leave.
Don't
Get
even
out.
not the cute little sachet away. Get out. That's what it
Mhm.
was.
Mm-hmm.
I was offended.
Yeah. Selena knew the choreo.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good. Liked that.
Did she though?
Well, okay, look, she didn't know the choreo, but she knew the choreo. You know what I'm saying? Like, she knew generally what to do at each stage. Did she
Let me
I
tell
mean,
you
execute it well?
Malaysia didn't
No.
even know where she was.
Exactly.
So
By
I will-
comparison.
By comparison, yes. But you know, my mother always used to tell me never compare yourself to garbage. So, you know, I just feel like if you're gonna be sitting up there doing choreography, please don't look like you're buffering or glitching on stage. Why is she 8 steps or 8 counts like behind? Everything was behind. Everything. It made me feel like I thought it was the TV. But then when I went and watched the episode back again, I was like, oh, it's just her.
Mm.
She's literally behind on everything. Every single move is behind. And I look, I applaud her for doing it. Well, attempting to do it and doing what she could do. I believe that she won the lip sync. I think that I find it equally as egregious as Beth that you do not know the words to be like, look, you don't have to be a Beyonce stan, but Single Ladies is arguably probably undeniably one of her most influential songs ever.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows the song. And for a drag queen, someone that performs hits for a living, this has to be a staple for everyone. You don't have to do the choreography all the time. You don't have but if there is one Beyonce song that you were going to have to learn how to do, it's Single Ladies. Come on now. So the fact that she's up there, it looked like she was like singing the Simless version of it. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? So she definitely deserved to go home. I'm just like all around, man. I was so pleased when he said Night of 1,000 Beyoncés. I was like,
I need to apologize, Aman, because I knew going into Friday, especially after I saw your tweet where you were like, "Oh, night of 1,000 Beyoncés and a Beyonce lip sync. I'm gonna be seated tonight." And I was like, well, I know there's gonna be some disappointment, and I knew that there was gonna be disappointment purely from the look perspective. And did I warn you, friend to friend? No, I did not, and that's on me.
Yeah.
And I feel very horrible about that.
Just threw me to the wolves.
Yeah.
I did,
all your
and
fault.
mostly for my own entertainment reasons for this very podcast. So I on the one hand, I am so sorry of the soul crushing that happened on Friday, but I am also so thankful for the raw, like, thank you for showing your vulnerability today on this podcast.
He just wants to win. He's like, I need to show that I have vulnerability.
As a side note, I'm just going to put this out there. In 2017, I went to the very first Work the World tour in Montreal show, and I was chosen to do the lip sync when I was assigned Beyonce, and I had to do Single Ladies, and I was very drunk, and I knew the words. Okay. Did I look like, in the words of Bianca Del Rio, a white girl who knows Zumba, goes to Zumba classes? Yes. But did I beat everybody else out? Yes, I did. And I'm not saying I did a good job, because I didn't. There's video proof somewhere on YouTube. But I am saying that I, at least very drunk, knew the words.
Now that I've calmed down, I mean, she did what she could. She did what she could, and even as I watched it, I was like, okay, well, at least she did the choreo. At least she tried to do that. I mean,
Selena. I thought you meant Malaysia. I was like, Malaysia didn't do shit.
No, Malaysia looked like she was ready to go. Malaysia looked like she didn't want to be there. Malaysia looked like she was resigned, and I was just like, okay. I mean, I feel like if you really put up a fight, Malaysia, you could have stayed, because this is what, like, Selena's third time in the bottom. Like, if you really gave it to us, you could have, like, and I was when I heard that it was going to be Single Ladies, I was like, oh my god, yes, like, we're going to get two queens doing the choreography. There's going to be like a dance battle about who knows Beyonce better, and it was just like, one of them didn't do anything at all, didn't even know the words, and the other one was doing it like 3 steps behind. I was like, what the fuck is this? Everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Well, and it was when they actually showed Malaysia, because it felt like most of the lip sync was focused on Selena. And I think that was probably to protect Malaysia. I don't know.
1,000%. 1,000%.
So yeah, I sad to see Malaysia go, but deserved based on this week,
it was deserved. And what I feel the most disappointed by is that I went into this season really looking forward to Malaysia's, like, personality and seeing her drag, and I really do feel like week by week the competition got to her, and we saw her light dim. So I do think that it is, like, time for her to leave the competition, but I still maintain, I bet if you go to see a Malaysia show, you were entertained to the nth degree, that you're rolling with laughter at her, like, her personality and her quips and everything like that. And I really hope that we get to see more of her in some capacity, whether it's tours or an all-star sometime or whatever, when she has more of, I guess, the resilience to keep the fire going. And I really, really think that she is somebody who's just naturally an entertaining person. And I think that just competition just got to her.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I guess we're moving on. Next week, we have the comedy festival where they're going to be doing stand-up in pairs, with then I assume one person hosting, because I believe we have 7 queens left. So I have to guess that that's how it's going to go, similar to what we saw in season 5. What else? Any other hits that we want to talk about from this episode? We have Lucy, constantly getting looked over. Oh, with her 3 wins, by the way.
Her 3 wins. Yes.
3 wins.
Her counting those mini challenge wins is the most unhinged thing that I think I have seen on this show in many years.
I was like, girl, Sasha Colby has 3 wins. You have 1 win.
Oh, I gotta look up now and see, what is Lucy's star sign? Because
that is so out of
I couldn't
pocket.
believe it when she said that. She was like, at 3 wins. I was like, does she really have 3 wins?
I
She
was
has like too many challenges. Like, oh,
I was like, oh,
okay.
honey, no. The best part was I know that every week around Wednesday or so, they release like the first few minutes on YouTube. And I haven't been watching it because I just want to sit down and watch it when it happens. But I kept seeing all these Drag Race alums on TikTok who would be like, how many wins did you get in your season? And Silky's like, I had 5. I had 5 wins in season 11. And they're like, and I'm like, no, she didn't. And then they're like, this bitch over here counting mini challenges. And I was like, that's funny. And then I watched the episode. And I'm like, oh, I get it now.
That's what
I
this
get
is
it.
about.
Mhm.
Got it.
Yeah. I also just MVP for confessional, and this is Mistress. Mistress was so funny in this episode from beginning to end. I don't care that she did horribly in the challenge. Everything she said in a confessional or to the other girls was just gold. It was especially her prodding Lucy in the very beginning. Like everything she said just got me laughing hysterically.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she's entering what was it that she said? She was like she's entering her bitch era or something. Yeah, she's entering
Yeah.
her bitch era and Lucy just lost
Lost
it. Oh
it.
my god, she's projecting. If she's think I'm a bitch, she's a bitch. Oh, it's so entertaining.
It was so good.
TV gold. Okay.
The little fairy tale comment about the Sasha Colby, Sasha Fierce story was hilarious.
Oh yes, the cease and desist. I'm excited for it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So
If I'm not mistaken, Lucy is an Aries, so that is 1,000% on mark.
there we go.
There we go.
There you go. We are done talking about Drag Race, but don't worry, we're going to be back next week, of course, to discuss the comedy festival, which I'm sure is going to be a total mess. And I'm so excited. Plus, I'm excited that we get 90-minute episodes back for this. Or maybe I'll be like, I hate it. Bring me back to an hour because you can't please me. And I want what I can't have. So, okay. Aman, what else do you have going on? Where can people find you on social media?
You can follow me everywhere at Aman Adwin.
Do you want to talk about BB Can or no? No, just move on from that.
Oh my god, I forgot all about that shit. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with that. I think I will be on the draft for Big Brother Canada 11. Well, no, we're calling this is Big Brother Crumada because that's what we're getting. We're getting crumbs. This is Big Brother Crumada 1. So you can find me on the draft for that. I think later. It's this week, right? Oh my god, yeah. On me. So yeah, I'll be there on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday.
And Beth, what about you?
You can find me at AugustaWind11 and all my social media. In addition to the amazing coverage that you will get on RHAP, if you're interested in hearing any thoughts of mine from BB Can 11 or Survivor Australia, you can catch me over on my weekly meltdown as well.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Liana RHAP. Yes, Survivor is back. So Mike and I are going to actually be recording right after this. We're going to be talking to our first guest, Kevin Jacobs, to go over everything from the premiere. And we're doing a choose your own adventure. So I spent way too much time writing it. I'm so excited for the boys to play it. It's incredibly chaotic. And also, of course, Masked Singer is going on as well. So Puya and I are doing coverage for that over on the either reality TV or RHAPups or the Masked Singer feed. Of course, if you want to follow everything from us, leave your star ratings and reviews. You can go to robhasawebsite.com/drag race. Follow the RHAPups feed. We've been plugging it all the month of February, but now that that's done, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, Scott St. Pierre and the whole RHAP team for all their help behind the scenes, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.